Thanks very much, Eric. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here in Geneva to be able to give you an update on GT Gold. I think what differentiates GT from the rest of the junior market is that we've made a major new greenfields exploration discovery as opposed to working historical projects or just prospecting in the hope of finding something. Here's a cautionary statement, as we will be making forward-looking statements in the presentation. This is a summary of the key points which I'll be discussing this morning. We've completed the prospecting phase, which has resulted in the Saddle discoveries, a high-grade precious metal-rich vein system, and a gold-rich copper porphyry with multi-million-ounce gold and multi-billion-pound copper potential. The discoveries are all the ingredients of a major mineralized system, married together with great infrastructure and significant exploration upside, as well as being in the Tier 1 mining jurisdiction of British Columbia, Canada. The project lies within the prolific Golden Triangle, which has seen over 150 mines operating in the region since prospectors first arrived in the 19th century. The Red Chris mine, another gold-rich copper porphyry, which began commercial production in 2015, is our nearest neighbour in terms of operating mines. We are blessed by excellent infrastructure. We've got the main north-south paved Highway 37, 10 kilometres from the project, as well as a high-voltage hydro power line, which offers the cheapest business power in Canada at 4 cents a kilowatt. You'll also note it's fairly sort of rounded mountains. We're on the eastern side of the main coastal belt. We receive less snowfall than a lot of the projects in this part of the world. And at the project scale, we're at about 1,200 meters elevation. And with the glacial action in the area, it's basically a hanging valley. This is important because it will facilitate potential underground infrastructure, as you'll see when we talk about the deposit itself. There's also the deepwater port of Stewart close by for shipping out concentrate. GT is just over 3 years old, and we've already made 2 significant discoveries. The initial, as I mentioned earlier, is this high-grade precious metal-rich vein system. 3 kilometers to the east is the Saddle North target, which was poorly exposed, covered with glacial debris, and was discovered via geophysics. In 2017, the first hole showed the potential for gold and copper mineralization. And then in 2018, we put about 10,000 meters in 10 holes, and it's been really this year where we've put in a further 25,000 and really delineated the potential for this high-grade copper porphyry. This image shows the plan view of the drilling. As I mentioned, we've now got 35,000 meters into this target. We've confirmed a broad envelope of gold-copper mineralization, 0.25% copper, 0.3 grams per ton gold, which measures 700 meters in strike length, 600 meters true width, going down to 1,600 meters vertical. It's still open. And within that, we've got a high-grade core, which is 1% copper and more than 1 gram gold that measures 400 meters in strike length, is approximately 200 meters in true thickness, and extends over 1,000 meters. You'll note there's 4 section lines delineated on this map, which I'm going to show you in the next slides. So that drilling has confirmed continuity of mineralization from surface, as I say, down to 1,600 meters depth, hole by hole by hole, and section to section. You can see in blue, that's the outline of the mineralized envelope, and the red is the higher grade. And again, you can see the continuity of the high grade within that mineralized envelope. As I say, section to section. This is an oblique section, so actually the mineralization is plunging out towards you as a cylinder of mineralization. But again, you can clearly see that core of high-grade mineralization. And here we have it in 3 dimensions. So basically, it's an elongate cylinder of mineralization. It's been really well-defined, really coherent. You can see that it's amenable to bulk mining, both in terms of open pit potential and underground. And as I say, it is open in a number of directions. We've taken an initial 100 kilogram composite sample for across the main envelope of mineralization for metallurgical test work, and we've also taken a further 50 gram sample for the high grade, from the high grade core for metallurgical work as well. While it's early days, it's interesting to make some comparisons. As I say, this is a gold-rich copper porphyry, and what are the others that are similar? We've got Newcrest's Cadia mine, which is their flagship operation in New South Wales, Australia. That produces just over 1 million ounces a year. And then neighbour Redcrest mine, which Newcrest bought earlier this year, or they bought 70% from Imperial Metals for $800 million. What I want to point out here is that's over 30 years of exploration work. And at Redcrest, this is on and off over 40 years of exploration and drilling. And the other thing to point out is when you get these systems, you don't just get single porphyries, you get multiple of them. And so you can see, in 2 years, we've gone from discovery hole to defining significant mineralization, and we haven't drilled outside of that mineralized envelope, and we still have a lot of exploration runway here that it's within an overall more than 3 kilometer geophysical anomaly, which remains to be fully tested. We've had some recent analyst coverage coming out, initiating coverage, and they've taken our, the public data and have plotted it up in terms of both open pit and underground. We sit very well with our peers, but I mean, the thing to point out here is you look at the jurisdiction that some of these places are. And, again, pointing out, how being in British Columbia, very safe and secure, whereas when we see the troubles that are happening, in Papua New Guinea, down in South America as well. Where we really stand out, though, is on the underground, and those high grades, both in gold and copper, really stand out against our peers and show the real value potential of this project as we go forward. So in terms of exploration upside, as I said, here's the precious metal-rich initial vein discovery. There's a value proposition here. It's probably 500,000 to 1 million ounces. It's open pittable, generates some upfront cash flow to be able to then stage develop the bigger porphyry through both open pit and underground. And then, as I said, there's the exploration upside. You can see this large geophysical anomaly, the drilling that we've completed to date. There's a hole drilled between the two zones of mineralization. Hole 64 came back with significant gold and copper mineralization at the end of the hole within a porphyry and hasn't been followed up. The other area that really excites me as a target is Quash Pass. That's approximately 8 kilometers from the saddle zone. And it's a 7 kilometer long soil anomaly, continuous soil anomaly, anomalous in copper, gold, and silver, as well as a very significant geophysical anomaly. And you can identify these circular features in the geophysics. And our thesis is that we've got a number of these porphyries that are coming up. And so feel that we've got very significant exploration upside as well as what we've already defined to date. We've got a dual strategy. Firstly, it's about putting all of the technical data together into a coherent geological model. And the other thing that really struck me was the quality of data that's being collected by GT. We've got age dating, we've got hyperspectral work from CoreScan, obviously got the assay data, we've got 4-acid digest multi-element, we've got whole rock, we've got thin section, all our holes are orientated, and so we've got collectively all of this information that will be pulled together into that geological model, which will form the foundation for an initial resource estimate in June next year. So the model will be complete by March, resource preliminary, and we expect inferred. There may be a portion of it indicated by June, and then a preliminary economic analysis about this time next year. The second part of the strategy is the ongoing exploration and having a separate team to start following up, integrating all the data layers from the summer field program into prioritizing targets for the 2020 field season. First Nations, a key stakeholder for us. We have one band to work with, the Toltan. They're very supportive of, they're very business orientated, long history of being involved in the mining industry. You know, we've got approximately 30% of our workforce as First Nations, and out of our sort of just over $10 million budget, $2.5 million has gone into the local economy through salaries, contracts, and support to our field programs. In addition, we have a further support to local communities, but again, mindful that, at the early stage of exploration, making sure that, we're not over-promising and then under-delivering, but really building those strong relationships now as we start to advance the project. And at the moment, we're fully funded. We expect to finish the year with approximately $10 million. We had a budget of $10 million. That's more than enough to fund our program for next year. But as always in the junior market, if the opportunity comes, we would look to, bolster our treasury at some point in the future. We've got a good balance of shareholding, both, institutional, as well as, Newmont Gold Corp came in earlier this year. And I think that's, one of the issues in the industry. At the moment, people are very focused on debt reduction, cleaning up the balance sheet, and free cash flow. But the reality is, if you look at the majors, they have no pipeline of projects, and there's also a lack of good greenfields discoveries out there. And I think that's, where we really stand out. As I said, there's really positive analyst coverage coming out on us at the moment, and that's helping to support the story that we're talking about. And so, in terms of news flow, we've got the remainder of the drill holes. That we've got approximately 11 holes, 8,000 meters of drilling to come by the end of the year. As I said, then it's into Q1 with the metallurgical results, together with the geological model, the initial resource, ongoing exploration, and the PEA. And thank you very much for your attention this morning.
Thank you, Paul. There would be time for a quick question. Would there be anybody? Sir.
How far are you from doing a pre-feasibility study and finally getting a permit?
Yeah. So really, we're at the advanced exploration stage. We're going to be taking it through to preliminary economic analysis by sort of towards the end of next year. And then, in my view, we're not going to go to pre-feasibility study because, generally speaking, these large projects, junior companies don't construct them. It's really, in the hands of the majors. And so it's our job to create the value, put this together technically, and then, look to sell it on to somebody who would develop it. And then the problem is that you go for pre-feasibility. Imagine, even the engineering costs on something like an underground block cave for a pre-feasibility study is going to be $40 or $50 million. The problem is we do that, and then a major comes along and says, no, I wouldn't do it like that. I'd do it like this, and they'd redo it. To me, that's wasting shareholder money. We're better off going out and finding the next one and the next one. That's how we'll really create even more value.
Excellent. Another round of applause.